Let's play a brief clip of Liz Cheney at an event for Vice President Kamala Harris, going beyond just an endorsement, saying that giving a full speech of how she believes that Vice President Kamala Harris is the best pick to be president of the United States. Listen to this.
I tell you, I have never voted for a Democrat, but this year I am proudly casting my vote for Vice President Kamala Harris. Vice President Harris has dedicated her life to public service. I know that she loves our country, and I know that she will be a president for all Americans. As a conservative, as a patriot, as a mother, as someone who reveres our Constitution, I am honored to join her in this urgent cause.
All right, so let me say this. I am no fan of Liz Cheney. Her voting record is despicable,
Mm-hmm.
including once you vote against the Voting Rights Act, it's a wrap for me. So I'm no
Mm-hmm.
fan of her whatsoever. But I heard some folks say, "Oh, this won't make a difference. It won't matter." I don't agree with that. I think this does make a difference, even if it impacts a couple thousand votes in Wisconsin, or in Pennsylvania, or in Michigan. It could make a difference. And what I care the most about is winning. What I care the most about is Vice President Kamala Harris winning. And listen, in October of 2008, Colin Powell came out and supported President Barack Obama. A lot of our younger folks out there, you may not recall, but that was a big deal. Now, he
Mm-hmm.
didn't go on the campaign trail, but that was a
Yeah.
big deal. It was huge for one of the most iconic Republicans, black or white, where in the mid '90s there was a demand for him to run for president, and he
Mm-hmm.
didn't, and he might have won. He might have won. Part of the reason why he didn't was because of his wife saying, "I don't want you to be president of the United States." But I think Colin Powell would have had a good chance at winning. Nonetheless, that was a big deal. And I think, considering the historic times that we're in right now, with a president stepping down, the incumbent not running for reelection 3 or 4 months before an election, the guy on the other side is a 34 felony count, twice impeached, the first presidential election after January 6th. The other candidate being a black woman at the top of the ticket, historic, who didn't go through a primary. I think this is unprecedented. It is historic, and I have never seen in my lifetime a former vice president, Dick Cheney, endorsing the current vice president, a Democrat, to be president of the United States, than his daughter, who was once in Congress, a Republican, deeply conservative, supporting the next Democrat to be president of the United States, the president to be a Democrat. I think
Mm-hmm.
it has an impact. So, whatever way you're showing up, show up and show out. I was impressed by the speech. My hard heart was like, okay, this is good, and I feel like she was sincere. Now, folks can say, "Oh, well, she wouldn't be doing this if Trump didn't kick her out or they didn't turn on her." Probably true, probably true. But for folks who aren't in the minutia of all these politics and they don't know her 94% voting record, for all those folks, we're in this every single day. For people who don't pay attention, but just say, "Oh, Liz Cheney? Oh, that's kind of interesting." Hey, I'm here for it. I thought it was a good speech, and I still say I don't know what conservative means. I don't know what you're trying to conserve, but that's me and my political historical analysis hat. It is what it is. But I thought it was good. I thought it was good, and I'm happy for her. And I'm calling on her, Condoleezza Rice, where you at? Everybody else, if you care about democracy and diplomacy and citizenship, and you're tired of seeing the country being torn apart, now was not the time to sit on the sidelines. So good for her. Good for her. What do you think, Reese?
Yeah, I mean, good for her. I don't think it's that big of a deal, personally. I mean, she got her ass handed to her when she ran for her reelection. So
She did. She
who's
did.
her constituency? Like, that's like, oh, I was waiting for Liz Cheney to come out for Kamala. Like, ugh. I think Democrats tend to place a lot of weight on this whole idea of, well, we're getting, reasonable Republicans on our side, and these never Trumpers. And there's a lot of I think there's a lot of appeal inside the Beltway and in the kind of more elite circles of the Democratic Party on showing like they get their sense of validation that look at these Republicans that are for us. And that's cool, but I mean, cool. If you want to be on the bandwagon, if you want to chip in and try to make something happen, I ain't got a problem with it. But I don't, I'm not overly impressed by it. I'm just like, okay,
Right.
good for her. Like, does she deserve a top billing and, you know, standing, in over Kamala's shoulder, VP shoulder while VP is giving the speech and all that stuff? I mean, I guess, but I think this is going to be a turnout election. I don't think it's as much of a conversion election. That's why it's so close. It's so close. I would like to see a little bit more outside of the margin of error. If we were seeing that, then I might be a little more persuaded that it's going to be the never Trumpers that are going to make the difference, or it's going to be, converting more people. I think it's smart to try to get the margins close with white women and Trump. Um, I don't know if the democracy argument, though, is what's going to get the white woman away from Trump. I think it's the
Hmm.
citizenship, it's the abortion rights, and it's the economy to some degree. And I don't know that Liz Cheney helps with those things because she is a conservative, air quotes. But look, I don't have a problem with leaving no stone unturned,
Right.
and that would include using Republicans or kind of touting that, but I still want to see more activation with the base and really doubling down on that, and seeing those people out with you, not just on a podcast, not just, behind the scenes, but being more out front with that. I feel like that's going to give you a bigger boost in a Milwaukee, in a Philadelphia, in a Detroit, Charlotte, whatever. I think you obviously with the hurricane, that's not a place you really want to be campaigning, but I'm just not overly convinced we're going to see a big return. But any amount helps. Any amount
Yeah.
helps. So I ain't mad
A
at it.
thousand votes could change the game in a
Exactly.
razor thin margin.
I'm not convinced that Liz is gonna make that difference, but I guess it doesn't hurt to see, why not? Chip in, girl. If you can help, cool. But
Yeah.
I still think
Yeah.
a lot
No,
of it is that Democrats just get so excited. Oh my God, Republicans
they do.
and Republicans don't give a fuck about Democrats supporting them. Matter of fact, you never see, Republicans really tout that. They might tout like an ex-Democrat, like an Amber
Right.
Rose stupid ass. But that's about it. But Democrats tend to get very excited when they get a Republican on their side. And
Yeah.
that doesn't really excite me.
Yeah. No, I get it. I'm not excited at all. That doesn't move me, but I do feel like it's possible it could have an impact. I mean, it was
Yeah.
also predictable. It was
Yeah.
also predictable, but it's possible. I mean, it's at minimum, it's a good talking point that the former vice president, Republican vice president,
Mhm,
endorsed me.
mhm.
Reagan staffers have endorsed me. I mean, to be, I've never seen this before,
Yeah. Oh,
not to
yeah,
this
yeah.
degree.
Yeah,
That
I agree.
this is kind of stunning,
It
not to
is.
this degree. I mean, and I don't like George Bush at all. But if he came out the woodworks, which he should, but he won't. What I mean, I'm like when you got the Reagan administration coming out. I mean, I'm calling on George Bush, Condoleezza Rice, and Condi. I know you like that GOP check, but
Mm,
come on now, show up. You're the one that's talking. You know about Russia more than anybody, Condi. You know you do. Come on
mm.
over.
Why is
But you know what I'm
Condi in
saying?
it?
Because she ought to be. She ought to be. If Colin Powell could do it, you could do it. Show up.
She ain't no
She
Colin
cares about
Powell. She is no Colin
those
Powell.
days are over. But no,
Mhm.
I'm just saying, like, this is wild. I mean, even Obama didn't get this much. This is, I mean, Dick
Yeah.
Cheney. For our younger listeners, y'all, Dick Cheney was basically the president. He was calling the shots for the most part. He was calling the shots behind the scenes. That's pretty much well documented. Dick Cheney is such a wild, staunch conservative that
Mm-hmm.
it's stunning to me. Now, of course, they've attacked his family, so it's been personal attacks and the whole bit, blah 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 blah. But none, and the Bush administration was horrific in every way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But this is fascinating.
It
It's
is. I
any
think it is fascinating. It's fascinating. I don't know how much it moves the needle, you know.
right.
But it is very interesting to see, you know, the last Republican administration before Trump
Yeah, before Trump,
to
yeah.
be so anti him. And then the younger Republican, like female staffers, are, hopping on team VP or whatever. So I think that there are some interesting elements there, but to the extent that it's interesting, um, or the root cause behind it is kind of baked into the cake that
Yeah.
Donald Trump is a threat. Donald Trump is all these things that's kind of baked to the cake right now. And so this you can't move the needle any further on Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. I think that you've got all the mileage you can get out of that is baked, is already wrapped into the polls. I mean, Jack Smith just released a 162-page court filing that
Mm-hmm.
just said extraordinarily outrageous things. And so what is going to move the needle beyond the things that people have kind of already accepted and that is kind of a feature, not a bug to the people that support Donald Trump.
I want to also say, speaking of moving the needle, everybody says the economy, the economy, the economy. The jobs report came out today, and it's damn good.
It is
I
good.
mean, it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you're an economy girl. You've studied this
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
These numbers are good. We're talking about job creation roared higher in September.
Mhm.
Payroll surged by 254,000. And I want to remind you, were you better off than 4 years ago? Were you better off than 4 years ago? This time 4 years ago, the black unemployment rate was over 16%.
Yep.
16% this
Mhm.
time 4 years ago. Now it's down to 5.7 under Biden.
Mhm.
5.16% down to 5.7%. Are we better off 4 years ago?
Duh. Yeah.
And then even before the pandemic hit,
Mhm.
I believe it was in January of 2019, the black unemployment rate was at 6%,
Mhm.
5.9. So
Mhm.
we're still lower
Mhm.
even before the pandemic. But I don't care what anybody. I don't know what Tim Scott and Byron Donalds are going to say now. By the way, did you see Keith Boykin go off on Byron Donalds
I
and said you're
did.
lying? I know you loved it because you're
Oh
tired of the
yeah.
respectability thing.
Oh
I know
yeah, for
you were like,
sure.
go. I know you. You're a liar. So I know Reese Colbert
Oh
like that.
yeah.
Call it
Oh
out.
yeah. Oh
Call it out.
yeah. Yeah.
But yo, I mean, Reese, these numbers categorically, the Dow Jones for folks who care about that,
Mhm.
it's huge. I mean,
Mhm.
you can't deny it. You
Yeah.
can't deny his he cleaned up the economy in
Mhm. Mhm.
4 years.
Mhm.
In 4 years, now is everything perfect? No, it's not. Now there's still work to be done. But you
Yeah.
can't tell me 4 years ago we are better. 3 years ago,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. 5 years ago, we
Right.
are better off.
Yeah.
5 years ago, I'm Biden did it. The Biden Harris administration did it. Inflation may
Mhm.
have peaked. A lot of economists predicted that
Mhm.
you're going to have high inflation because you're recovering from a horrific pandemic with a leader who just believes in tariffing people to death, who has
Yep.
no skills. Or he's the bankruptcy guy, not the economy guy. But this is
Mm.
damn good, Reese Colbert. What you think?
It is. I was like, "Whoa, Kamala's getting lucky, honey," because that port worker strike was only 2-3 days. Biden did something, and now they back on the job till
Well,
January.
hold
So,
up. They say it was Pete Buttigieg. Have you heard that
well,
report?
Pete
They
Buttigieg,
said it was
shout out to Pete, Mayor Pete,
Pete. Do it, Mayor Pete.
Secretary Pete. Yeah, they was on the job, look, because I mean that could have been catastrophic. So these October surprises uh are really, resolving themselves relatively quickly in her favor. And I've always been like If the economy is good, we get that interest rate down. We still have strong jobs going into the election. That bodes very well for her. I think that there's still a little bit of work that needs to be done on messaging, how far we've come. I thought that Biden did a really, really good job of this in 2020, talking about, how basically Trump drove the car into a ditch and how yeah, something like that. I think that you really have to underscore the fact that we've cleaned up their mess and you don't give the keys back to the person who drove us into a ditch.